This is probably the last time you're gonna see the EVO 8 on our vlog, aside from after we give it away and the winner comes to get it. Today is the last day to get entered. If you haven't already been entered, head on over to throtl.com. Every dollar you spend on merchandise or car parts for your car is an entry to win this thing. So every buck you spend gives you one. If you're a VIP member, you get 3 times the entries. So consider signing up for VIP before you get those entries in. Well, she accelerates pretty good. One thing I like about this car is you can just get in and drive it. There's like, it's not your typical overbuilt show car that you can't take on the road, or you can't just hop in and go for a 300, 400 mile road trip. I think I would confidently jump in this thing and drive it to Vegas right now. It's got the power when you need it to make passes. Makes great noises. One thing that's always thrown me off about EVOs is the gearboxes have always felt really sloppy. This particular one, I don't know if it's been rebuilt or there's some special racing bits that were put into this, but it feels very connected and direct. There's no real slop in the selector like you would get on a normal EVO, which is pretty cool. So one of the great things about having Bill and Rick tune this thing was the streetability of it. I mean, it is honestly like, we really haven't done anything to the car. It seems like the drivability is all there, just like a car you would get from the factory. There's really no hiccups, no holes in the tune. It drives like a normal car, which is awesome. Low RPM, we're not bogging, we're not bucking, there's none of that. It's very well mannered for a car that has a pretty good tune on it, pretty gnarly tune. And cams and cam gears and all that stuff. One thing I should note is that the exhaust note in the car while you're driving doesn't drone either, as a lot of times you get a droning sensation or sound inside the chassis when you add an aftermarket exhaust. And this one, we hear it for sure, but it's not like annoying at a consistent RPM on the freeway in 4th or 5th gear. You're not getting this really loud, gnarly droning sounds. I think adding the carpet, adding the sound deadening around the speaker areas and on the floor pan, adding the back seat, all the foam padding for that and the sound deadening underneath that really helped keep some of the noise out that we didn't want, but you still get all the visceral feeling and noises of the blow-off valve and all that stuff, which is pretty awesome. All right. One other thing to note is that you guys have seen us talking about these Moton Club Sports that are on this car, the coilover suspension. And one thing I'll say is I was a little concerned that it might be a little too harsh or darty for the freeway and just day-to-day road conditions, but I will say it feels super confident. It's not overly harsh and rough. The nice thing is it does have adjustable suspension and rebound, so we could adjust it for daily driving purposes. But this is the track setup that was on it when we got the car, and we dialed in when we were at Willow Springs, and it feels super good on the road. This is one of San Diego's worst freeways, and it is absolutely a joy to drive, even with these rough conditions. It's not you know, jarring my fillings loose or making me uncomfortable in the car. It's not grabbing the steering wheel and doing anything harsh, which is really cool. The car really feels great. I mean, I can kind of put it wherever I want. One other thing to note is that we reutilized the Brembo brake calipers that were on this car. We did put Hawk HPS pads and StopTech rotors on here, and those were a great upgrade, but I think what really helped stabilize this car were the tires. This is a super grippy tire from Falken called the RT660, and it just debuted recently. In fact, we got one of the first sets out of the warehouse, which is super cool that they were willing to send those out to us. And we did test these at the racetrack, had a great result. But I think the footwork under this feels so confident, paired with the Motons, the lightweight Advan wheels, the upgraded brake components, because of the tires being so grippy and able. I'm actually beyond impressed, and I think a lot of people overlook the fact that the reason some of their cars stop so well and handle so well is because they have a really confident set of rubber underneath them. So a lot of people have mentioned in the comment section that the car needs to be lowered. It sits too high. Now, I want to remind everyone that we've left the ride height at the height that was this car was tuned for the track, for the suspension tuning that was set up for it to be used for racing. And I'm a big fan of lowering my cars. Look at the bumps here. This is ridiculous. This would be a great test for our suspension and for our ride height. We haven't scraped a single driveway, I'll say that. So that's one of the bonuses to not having your car super slammed on its belly, is that you can drive a little more aggressively and things. You don't have to drive around so daintily in and out of driveways. It's handling this road really well. That's a combination of the tires, the suspension, the ride height, and all that. But what I will say is we will not be lowering this car any further. If the end user wants to lower it, that's on them. But this car is super capable to drive anytime you want. I mean, look at this apron. I'm just gonna, boom. No scraping, no worried about tearing up our C-West body kit, nothing. We've made it back to the shop here unscathed. Car's running great. Couldn't be happier. One of you guys is gonna be super lucky to win this car. I'm gonna go ahead and do a little walk around because I am gonna miss this car. This thing has been an absolute pleasure to work on since we've had it. Buying it as a race car, converting it back to a street car has been a heap of fun. Ricky and I have had a blast putting it together. But right now I want to go over some of the highlights that are features on this car that I think set it apart from other EVOs out there. I want to start up front with the face of this car because I know I caught a lot of flack for saying I wanted to paint this inlet black. As you can see, we went ahead and did that. The hood is popped right now, but this normally sits pretty low like that, and you don't see any of that. And what the black paint did was really help disguise this feature. I've always loved this feature about the C-West aero kits, but I thought on our car being blue, it would really help tie it together and not make the front end so distracting, because with that painted body color, it becomes a little bit distracting. So that brings me to the C-West aero kit. This came on the car. We salvaged it. We were able to have the guys at SOS Customs do a lot of repair work to it so that we could salvage it. We ordered up new carbon fiber canards from C-West for it, and we made it fit back on the car probably better than it did originally. And I love the way it turned out because it's super aggressive. It keeps the track car feel. With the EVO VIII, even though now it's a street car, it feels aggressive. That paired with the Sabon hood here, I think really rounds out the front end. Canards, big vents, painted black, carbon, big front mount intercooler. I think it just really says aggressive and really ties the whole face of this car together in a mean way. Let's pop the hood and take a look under here, because we did spend a lot of our time under here undoing and redoing things. One of my favorite bits under the hood are these Garage Alpha parts. This is full titanium rod for the hood stay, and it has the burnt TI look, which isn't really my thing, but a lot of people love the burned look on the titanium stuff, so we did go with that. We also used their nuts on the strut tops, which are really nice and lightweight. But the really cool thing about this engine bay is the Moton Club Sports that mount on our factory strut bar here that we've powder coated in fluorescent orange. These Club Sports are the star of the show in my opinion, and to complement them, we did go ahead with some other stainless bits under here to match the brushed aluminum bodies of the Moton Club Sports. We have this stainless heat shield that's really hot right now. I probably shouldn't touch. And the carbon bits under here actually tie this whole thing together in my opinion. With the RPG airbox, the carbon covers from APR on the engine, the carbon air deflector here to keep air flowing over everything in here. And then one of the really important things that I like about this engine bay is how we blacked out the radiator. The radiator is a really big focal point in this engine bay, so we went ahead and threw a coat of satin black on it, and I feel like it really does a good job of sort of dumbing down that sort of feature, which isn't something we want to focus on. We want to focus our eyes here. So I'm very happy with the way the engine bay turned out. One of my other favorite things about this car was I was allowed to select the wheel and tire package that I really wanted to put on it. And because this car was a race car previously, I wanted to stay with that lineage. So we did go with Advan Racing wheels. These are RZ2s paired with Falcon Tire RT660 race tires. These tires are super sticky, super grippy. We haven't heard a squeal out of them yet, which is awesome. I think in the gray color with the fluorescent orange Brembo brake calipers behind them, it's the perfect package. Not only does it look great, it actually performs really well. Some of the other quick highlights for me are the RPG rally style mirrors. A lot of people said that they didn't like these initially. I think they've grown on a lot of people. The visibility out of these is really good. We're used to not having the greatest visibility when we go to a smaller mirror. These things are fantastic. So if you're on the fence about ordering these for your EVO, do it. You won't be disappointed. Moving out to the back, how can you deny the OE styling of this Sabon carbon fiber wing? We feel like this wing really helps keep the EVO spirit alive in this car. Wingless, these cars look cool, but I think it looks best with the factory wing. So we chose a carbon fiber version of the factory wing, left the blade carbon, painted the end plates, and I think it's a great overall look. Really helps tie the front to the back with the black roof. Around back, it's a little shady back here, but I think you can still see. We did go ahead and go with the smoked inner taillights. These are from Depot and a relatively inexpensive upgrade for EVOs. And around back, we have our C-West rear bumper. We also have our HKS titanium and carbon fiber wrapped exhaust system, which if you're a JDM head like I am, this is a really cool piece to have for the EVO. And it was one of the parts that was actually on the car that we restored and were able to reuse as we finished this build. Okay, now inside the EVO, a couple things that you guys don't know about yet, or you're just learning about, is the brand new Sparco QRTR seats that we've installed. These are their most current setup. And we've also installed a new steering wheel from Sparco. This is their World Champion wheel, my all-time favorite Sparco steering wheel that's made. It's just the perfect size and feel, perforated leather, red stitching, you can't beat it. If you guys haven't tried one of these, I highly recommend picking one up and trying it in your car. Aside from those upgrades, we also added the Pioneer MVH 1400 NEX head unit, which has CarPlay, on-the-fly calling and messaging. Paired to that head unit, we put a bunch of kicker speakers in here, so this thing sounds fantastic. This is the perfect road trip car. The AC blows cold, it has a great sound system inside, the seats are comfy, the steering wheel feels fantastic, the car handles like a dream, and it makes heaps of horsepower. Okay, and one of the things that we didn't do a really good job of showing you guys in previous videos was the back seat area. Now, we do have a cage in here, and we wanted to complete the rear seat area. We didn't want it to look like a gutted race car. So we did get an EVO 8 rear seat, and we went ahead and trimmed it out to fit the roll cage bars. You cannot sit back here. This is just to complete the interior, so don't get excited. If you want to use this car as a daily and you want to put people in the back seat, you're going to have to remove this roll cage. We like the roll cage. We thought it had a nice pop of color, and it also completes that really streetable race car look, but it can be taken out. So one of the other great components about this car is the tune. So as you guys know, we redid the turbo setup on it, but we leaned on Bill at Delicious Tuning and Rick at Rally Inspired, who has tuned thousands of EVOs, to put a good tune on this car that's going to allow it to be a streetable car, something you can hop in and drive it every day back and forth to work if you want, or you can take it to the track. So we have a 91 tune on here, we have a 100 octane tune on here, and that can be selected by holding down the gas pedal while the key is in the on position, which is really cool. So you can change between tunes.
All right, that's a wrap on the EVO build. I hope you guys enjoyed this project. This one was really fun. I thoroughly enjoy the car. I think it's gonna make a really awesome project car for someone, so I can't wait to see what the new winner does with it. But before we give it away, just gonna do a quick little clean here with some Meguiar's products. So this is the wash and wax, and then we're gonna hit it with the hybrid ceramic wax too. So this is a really cool product. We'll show you guys how to use that in just a second. Step 1, shake. 2, apply to freshly washed and rinsed vehicle. Now that the ceramic wax is on here, I'm gonna let this sit for just a minute, and then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna rinse the car off, and the whole process is done. So now your car is essentially coated with ceramic wax, and it literally probably added maybe 2 minutes to your entire wash process. So you're able to protect your paint for a little bit longer, and for 2 minutes, why not?
All right, well, that's a wrap. I hope that was some great information for you guys about this EVO. I learned a lot today on my inaugural drive of this thing, and I got a couple little things to tweak on before we choose the winner, but this is a great car, and whoever wins it is one lucky person. I hope you got your entries in. If you haven't, head on over to throtl.com. Every dollar you spend on merchandise or car parts is an entry to win this thing. If you're a VIP member, I encourage you to sign up if you're not, because it's 3 times entries for every dollar you spend. That's right. 3 for every dollar. That's a lot of entries if you just buy a t-shirt. Head on over, get those entries in, boys.